Dale, you've been involved in master's groups for a while, and I guess what I'd like to ask you is, what advice would you give other pastors who may not be familiar with a master's group, or say a young pastor starting out or a church planter? What advice would you give them based on your involvement in a master's group today?
Well, relationships are key to any kind of ministry, and relationships keep you going for the long haul, and master's groups are a great place to find those. You connect with guys who've been around and been in it for a while, and then the questions and the thoughts and the directions that master's group give you would help you structure and strategize for effective ministry right off the bat.
What's at stake if someone doesn't get involved in a group similar to this or a master's group? What do you think's at stake for them?
Well, for me, I'd dry up on the vine. I wouldn't be able to make it. If I don't have that kind of not even just the accountability, but the encouragement and the we're in this together thing, I would not be able to make it. And I think that's so key that we and it broadens our perspectives, because in my master's group there's 3 or 4 different denominations represented, and so it broadens my perspective as to what God's doing in the kingdom at large versus just in my little tribe.
You know, a lot of people, pastors we talk to, will say, I don't have the time, or they'll say, it's just not in, my range of things. What would you say to those who just think they're too busy to be involved?
I would say that it's you have to find the time to do what's important, and it's one day a month. It's not even, and it's a half a day a month if you live nearby. So it's not even that much of a commitment, except that the commitment pays off in thinking time and in practical time and in structural time. I mean, it pays off. It makes you use your time better.
You been involved in master's group. It's fairly new, but how far do you drive to come to a master's group?
I drive about 2.5 hours to get to my master's group.
One way?
In the Front Range, one way. I pick up a pastor about a half hour from my house, and another pastor another 45 minutes away, and then we drive the rest of the way in to Denver for our master's group. But even the fellowship along the way with those guys is beneficial and strengthening and sharpening.
I noticed that you're on a lot of our Pastor's Resource Call, which is a free monthly internet web-based call that we do for pastors that just gives them a learning time once a month that's free with a national leader, somebody who's connected or has a proven track record and experience in ministry. What's been your experience on being on those calls?
Well, from my office, I can hear from national people. I mean, how much better does it get? I mean, you can talk to the Reggie McNeils and the Larry Osborns of the world and be sitting in your office and gain wisdom from them for nothing. That is really a no-brainer. I mean, if a pastor has nothing, if they say, okay, master's group's not for me, I don't have the time, okay, that's your choice. But it's really a no-brainer to take an hour out on a Thursday once a month and be on a PRC and gain the wisdom and the experience that's there.
Can you give us one example of something you've taken from a pastor's resource call and put into play for you and your church?
Oh yeah, the resource call with Reggie McNeil, as he was talking about, one of his big things is just being missional and being in the community. And it was like he talked about hungry kids, and it's like, I wonder if we have any hungry kids. And so that very afternoon, I was meeting with the principal over something with the school and my kids and stuff, and so I just asked him, so do you have any hungry kids? And he said, we have probably 15 kids who go home hungry and don't eat on the weekends. It's like, well, we got to do something about that. And the very next week, our church started to put some bags together, and now we have a small school, but now we do about 30 every weekend, and making a difference in those 30 kids. So it's pretty cool.
How's that affected your leadership in the church?
Oh, they're expanding and growing because they realize that we're beginning to be way more about just being the people within the 4 walls. They were starting to make an impact in their community.
Dale, I just have one more question for you. Is how's the process that you've learned from us in your experience in being with Cornerstone for a while now? How's that impacted your ministry scorecard in your own mind about where you've been and where you are now?
Well, I feel like I'm being like there's it's more than just having to suck ideas from ministry out of my own thumb. I'm getting ideas from other people. I'm actually that I don't even have to figure out how to do this myself. I get some structures to say, oh, this may not be the way, but it is a great way, and it's the way that I've found right now that I can structure and figure out and organize and think, and it's been extremely helpful for me in that regard.
Okay. One last question is, in the master's groups, there's a process that every group participates in called Growing Past Stress, and we call that GPS. Can you care to comment on that at all?
We've been there a couple of times. I haven't been the focus yet, but a couple of other guys have, and it's been a good process just thinking through their things, their areas, because then I see questions I should be asking. I mean, it's just the questions that are asked there. That's one of the key parts, I think, to the positives to the master's group is that GPS, as well as right now going through personal mission statement and a calendar that helps with some of that growing past stress as well. So, yeah, that I'm excited about it.